Hello, and welcome back to my garden. Today we're going to do the spring veg garden tour. Now, over on my community page on the YouTube homepage, if you guys haven't been there, go check it out. Just head over to YouTube on your computer, and then you can go over to the community tab. And I believe you can actually also do that on the mobile, like your phone. I'm not sure about the tablet, but either way, if you jump over to the community page, I usually post up quizzes and polls and other information. But recently I asked you guys if you wanted to see the whole garden in one spring garden tour kind of thing, where I cover the house beds and the vegetable garden and the flower garden and the rose garden and the orchard. Or would you guys like to see smaller snippets? So just the vegetable garden and then just the flower garden and just the rose garden, that kind of thing. And overwhelming majority of you said smaller snippets. So here we are. Today we're going to do the vegetable garden. I just want to point out, in the front of the vegetable garden, I finally planted my boxwoods. I've wanted to grow a boxwood hedge in front of the vegetable garden ever since I started the vegetable garden, but I hadn't gotten around to it, and I was like, oh, I want that instantaneous something pow, and I was doing the Mexican sunflower in front of the vegetable garden for a few years. But now I've planted up my boxwoods, so hopefully in anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 years, who knows how long it's going to be, the boxwoods will grow as tall as the fence. It'll hide the fence because I really don't enjoy looking at the fence, and it'll be a wonderful thing. I talked more about that in the last video I did. But now let's go into my vegetable garden and see what I've got going on there. Okay, if you're new to the channel, welcome, and thank you for subscribing. I kind of feel like you guys may miss out on videos because of YouTube shenanigans. So the other thing you could do is go over to growinggreenfinger.com, scroll to the bottom of the home page, then you'll see a sign up for newsletter. Just drop your email in there, and once a month, only once a month, I'm not going to spam you guys, I will send out a newsletter with a update as to maybe some behind the scenes of what's going on in the garden, links to all the videos I've done that month, and this way, if you did feel like you missed one, you could always go back and watch it directly from the newsletter. So for all the new subscribers, my vegetable garden is 40 feet across, 80 feet deep. It consists primarily of 3 different areas, let's call them. I have my in-ground beds, I have my raised beds, and I have the greenhouse. So we're going to start this tour with the in-ground beds. My in-ground bed area is approximately 14 feet deep by 30 some odd feet. I don't know. If I remember, I'll try to put the exact measurement on the screen. I have it lined here with these pavers, and that's really just for mowing purposes. The pavers are not cemented or anything like that, and just for that purpose. This year I started lining the pathways with cedar mulch because I think it might keep the ants at bay from the vegetable garden. Over here I have Russian Rhapsody daylily, and then a little further down I have golden ginkgo. You may notice in the back here my comfrey, it is just going nuts. I mainly use this for fertilizer, so I'll cut this back probably harshly in the next week or so because a lot of it's done flowering, and the bees have been loving the flowers on here. And I'll chop it back and I'll start making my comfrey fertilizer, which, if I'm not mistaken, is high in nitrogen. In this bed over here, I have some peanuts growing. Just 4 plants. I have other peanuts growing elsewhere in the garden, and I'll show you guys that later on. Under these cages, I have some cotton. I also have cotton there and there. It just hasn't sprouted yet for some unknown reason. But nonetheless, I'm growing the cotton just for fun. This is a pepper. I've forgotten the name here. El Jefe jalapeno. So this is an El Jefe jalapeno. I overwintered it in the greenhouse and I replanted it out here, and it seems to be doing quite well. Just up front I have a couple of marigolds, and here is some alliums which have done poorly this year. I just planted them last year. I don't know what the story is, why they look like this. If you guys have any thoughts, please let me know in the comments below. And then I have Liantris, I believe that's the name, Blazing Star right here. And I put them basically there because I had a lot and I didn't have a lot of space out in my flower garden, and I thought, why not? It'll attract more pollinators to the in-ground beds here. This space right in here, this is all going to be for various other things like watermelon, pumpkins and a couple other things, but nothing's planted yet, and I have yet to rework the areas. I recently mowed the garden in here, and I just dumped a bunch of grass clippings right on top of this back area here, and I'll work that in soon into the soil. And what I'm going to be planting along the back here are sunflowers. Now I've already started planting some sunflowers back over here. There's a few growing here, and sadly, out of all the ones I planted over there, there's only one there. Once these guys are basically done or near done, I will be cutting them out or removing them or cutting them back and planting in new ones, and hopefully I can keep a succession of sunflowers going into the fall. Right along here I have some zinnia, again just sort of break up the garden space and add more flowers to the pollinators. Over here I have my basils and tomatoes. Now I'm growing two different types of tomatoes this year. I'm growing Homestead and I'm growing Mortgage Lifter. Now I've never had much luck growing tomatoes down here. They grow, but then the stink bugs primarily, they wind up damaging the fruit and it becomes unedible. So this year I'm going to try something new. Once they get I'm trying a few things new. One, I'm growing these in the ground, which normally I've done them in raised beds. And I'm going to be tying them up Florida weave style. And I think I'm doing that correctly, where I have two strings and I just alternate them and help hold the plants up and steady. I think that's how you do that. Either way, I'm also going to bag the fruit. So once the fruit starts forming, I'm going to put an organza bag around the fruit to hopefully keep the bugs off of it so it can ripen and mature and be wonderful. Also, down around the bases, I've put in some marigold seeds that I have, lemon gem marigold. It's a very fragrant marigold, smells like lemons, and hopefully if a deer does get in the vegetable garden, it'll keep them away. In this last section over here is another disappointment. I planted this entire section up here with Midnight Rouge sunflowers, and I only have a couple that came up. So again, somewhat disappointing. I have more weeds in here than I have sunflowers. I will come back probably over the weekend and I'll turn around and plant up some more sunflowers into this space. But Jason, you may be saying, what's up with all those bags? Let me show you. Here's a hibiscus that I saved from the front lawn. The deer like to munch that back yearly. Put it here into the veg garden where hopefully it'll be a little safer. Here, and in many of these, are potatoes. And I grow my potatoes in the bags to try to keep the fire ants away from my potatoes. And I've got a bunch of different varieties, which I won't bore you with today. I'm even trying to grow some potatoes in this pot here. I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll find out. And here's some more potatoes. And what I'm also doing is using the potatoes as a bit of a wall to prevent a little furry animal from stepping into my beds. More potatoes. A Sweet Bay magnolia, which I thought was dead, but it has since put on some new growth coming up from the base. So I'm okay with that. And then this here is a sour gum tree, which I also saved from the woods and will eventually be planting out by the rose garden. And then here's a rose that I got from my local nursery. They were clearancing it out for $5, so I grabbed it. Back here, my table of various cuttings, which are growing into various shrubs of various different kinds. I'm not going to bore you all with that today, but as you can see, I have quite a few. And the whole area is also underneath the shade cloth, so the young plants don't get scorched by the sun during the spring or summer here. Table right here, as you can see, various different plants in various different stages of growth. And many of these have to be planted out and will be planted out into different areas of the garden. Right here in front of the greenhouse, along with my watering cans, I have some garlic. I have a couple of birch trees which need to be planted out. I have an elderberry which needs to be planted out, and a couple of small plants back there. Over here, I have a sweet mock orange, and then there's another tree which I don't think is alive anymore, and a maple tree bare root which I don't think is actually alive. A small rose bush here, which is going to go to a family member soon. And then I have some marigolds and dahlias holding my door open. Now my greenhouse, again for the new subscribers, is 8 by 12, and it's primarily not being used right now except for mostly storage, because during the spring/summer it winds up getting too hot. So I have a shade cloth up over it, and like I said, I'm really not using it, but I do have a few things in here. Up top here I have various succulents, but over here I have a tray full of gladiolus seedlings. And this was all part of a gladiolus growing experiment. So I'll have to go through here, thin this out a little bit, and then I'll probably transplant these guys from this tray into bigger pots later in the year. Over here I have some dahlias that I'm hoping will start putting on some leaves and or growth. And this one over here is Cafe au Lait. Does look like it's ready to start popping out stems. So that's good. Okay, so now let's go see what's growing in all my raised beds. Nothing in this one, but this one will be for sweet potatoes. And then this one over here, I have to rework soon. I've already started doing a little bit of cleanup in here. I have to add more raised bed mix. And then I have various plants that I will be putting in here. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified. And this way you could then follow along and see what I plant in there and how it grows. In the bed next to it here, I have all of my gladiolus seedlings. So with a little luck, in a couple of years, I'll have a lot of gladiolus to be planting out someplace and or to give away or sell, or I have to figure out what I'm going to do with gladiolus once they all grow to nice large corms. But in the meantime, seeds are growing, which is pretty cool. In this container here, I have turmeric. I've never grown turmeric before. It took forever for these leaves to pop up, but they have finally popped up. Now, I should have one or two more coming up over here, and definitely one or two more coming up over here. They may still or they may not, but even if they don't, I definitely have what do we got here? 4 or 5 plants coming up. Actually, 6 plants, I can count. That's 4, 5, 6. Okay. Over here is going to be my herb bed, where I'm going to have parsley and sage and oregano, but unfortunately it's not ready yet. I still have some seedlings over here, and over here I have some cinnamon basil and a cherry tomato plant. I don't know what cherry tomato plant this is, but it's definitely a cherry tomato plant. They came from the bed all the way down there. That's where some of these will go back to, along with other plants. So over here, here's the gate that I normally come through from the house. And then as soon as you walk in, we have this bed here. Not going to use this bed. This bed is coming out. Much of the wood is rotted. And what I'm going to replace it with is another metal bed like this one here. I just haven't built it yet. But in this bed here, I have bush beans, Blue Lake 47. Many of them are coming up, which is good. In this bed here, we have Spanish Roja garlic. Never had it before. Don't know what it's going to taste like. Hopefully it'll be good. Next to that one, this is my onion bed. I have 2 varieties of onions growing here. I have Red Rock and I have hybrid candy yellow. They all seem to be doing pretty well. A couple more marigolds. Over in this bed here, I have the 4 Walla Wallas. They're hard to tell or hard to see in here, but I have 4 Walla Walla onions that survived, and I'm going to stick them here because apparently you can grow onions with cucumbers. And these are my green apple cucumbers over here. In the center of the bed, I just planted more bush beans, and along the edge are more lemon gem marigolds. And I have a couple of lemon gem marigolds down there. So then in this bed, I have more green apple cucumbers. And I also planted more marigolds. And I planted 2 different types of things in here as well. I have Japanese wasabi radish. That was a freebie from Baker Creek this year. That is probably going to go to a friend and or family, but I figured let me sow some since they gave it to me and see what happens. And then Heatwave blend lettuce in most of the rest of this bed here. So that'll all grow with the cucumber. Over in this bed, we have Romanian red garlic in the first couple of rows. And then we have chestnut red garlic over here. And they'll probably be ready to pull in another month or so. And then over here, I have California white here at the end. So that's your typical store-bought white garlic. And then over here, which is looking really mangy and weird, I have Texas Roja garlic. Never grown it before. Don't know why it's looking the way it does. But I think I'll be starting to pull this soon and see what it looks like. And then there's one other thing which you probably caught glimpses of, but I didn't mention in the walk around, which is my key lime tree, my orange tree, my Meyer lemon tree over here, and my other Meyer lemon tree over here. Now this Meyer lemon tree is starting to put on some fruit, which is good. This one is not, and I'm not sure why. The key lime I don't think is going to put on fruit this year. It's only about a year old. And then the orange tree, it looks like it might put on fruit, but I'm not holding my breath because it never seems to put on fruit. And it's about 2 years old now. I'm not sure what that's about, but either way. So this is my vegetable garden in the spring of 2024. If there's something that I kind of glanced over or skipped over a little too fast, or you want to know more information on, please leave a comment below. I'll be glad to answer any and all questions. I think I've pretty much covered it all. It's a space in development, of course, as many of yours are probably. I have plenty of stuff still to plant. I have plenty of space to plant all that stuff in, and I have to get planting soon. I was going to start planting some of the stuff yesterday, but it was just incredibly hot. Today, I may plant some stuff because it's supposed to be cooler. The heat is supposed to be dissipating just a little bit. And next week is definitely going to be cooler. Mid to high 70s next week, which is much better than mid to high 80s this week. And again, to the new subscribers, you may have noticed this little one running around. This is Sophie here. She is my little garden helper. Yes, you help me in the garden. You do. And she'd much appreciate it if you'd subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. Hopefully you enjoyed this tour. My next garden tour will be the flower garden. So if you're looking forward to seeing the flower garden and what it's doing, that'll be the next video. Please check out all my links below. If you didn't know, I've written 2 books. Go check them out over on Amazon. Again, the links are all below. And check out my Etsy store and all that good fun stuff. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details. You just came here to see the vegetables. So with that, I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.